Okay, everyone, we'll get started with AJ Hinch. There's microphones on either side of the room. Start here in the front with Chris.
AJ, did you spend a couple minutes with your team in there, and if so, can you share what your message was?
Yeah, I did. Let me start by saying congrats to Seattle. Jerry, I go back a long way with. Dan, I've just gotten to know. I mean, that was an incredible win for them, which means it was an incredible loss for us. But I wish them well in the next round. That they earned it, and that was an epic game. As far as my team goes, I spent some time with them to thank them. We had an incredible game today that unfortunately somebody had to lose, and that somebody was us. And it hurts, I mean, that group is, they gave everything they could. You had guys pitching on short rest. You had players giving everything they had because this was game 5, and we wanted so badly to take the next step, as a team. And so I wanted to thank them. We have nothing to hang our head down on, and there's going to be plenty of time to talk about, the season, this game, the peaks, the valleys. But I'm extremely proud of that group in there for what we accomplished and how we fought tonight to try to extend our season.
I guess just along that same vein, the effort you got out of Tarik tonight, that's about as dominant. I mean, it's a historically dominant performance for a postseason game.
Yeah. No, he was incredible. I mean, he kick-started us in such a good direction. He missed a ton of bats. Again, if you're not a fan of the Tigers and you haven't watched Tarik start after start after start, you're going to see why he gets the love that he does, because he's incredible. He's an emotional leader. He's obviously someone who brings it on the field. You see it every 5 or 6 days. And we've asked a lot out of him all season, but specifically this postseason, every 5 days. So you want the ball in his hand, and you want him to represent your club.
Here on the right side, Jason.
AJ, when the Mariners went to Spire there, were you pretty resolved in letting Carpenter have that at bat?
Yeah, I thought that Spire was going to come in at any point. As soon as we pressured Kirby, which we had a hard time with, he was pumping strikes and getting outs, and then there was so much game left. That's just regular game. I didn't know we were going to play a second game. But I felt like that at bat. Carpenter had seen him a couple times, and it wasn't going to be just a free pinch hit. Depending on the score, the situation, a lot could have changed that. But given where it was in the game, and I wasn't going to let him run Carp out of the game, and he put a really good swing on a really good pitcher, and obviously gave us a big boost.
And just with the stress level of Skubal and just the amount he put behind those pitches, was it a fairly straightforward decision to go to your bullpen?
Yeah, easy
when
decision.
You did?
I talked to him after the 5th. I checked in on him, how he was doing physically and emotionally, and we both knew that he had one left, and he emptied his tank, and obviously was emotional coming off the mound, and that, I think that signals exactly where we were in the game, and he gave us everything he could. He's pitched on regular rest now 3 or 4 starts in a row. He empties his tank from pitch 1. It was an easy decision.
Left side, Cody.
AJ, we know games like this are all hands on deck, but as that gets into extra innings, what's the challenge of managing your pitching?
Yeah, navigating just where they were, with their order. We didn't really want to show the middle of their order the same pitcher. So I went with Cater, and then I went with Jack, got Tommy there at the end, and guys just kept battling. There were, opportunities on both sides after the 9th inning. It felt like it was a pretty quiet game, from an opportunity standpoint, until we got into extras, and then there were runners everywhere, and there's double plays, and there's caught stealing, and there's bunts, and there's, guys picking up each other on errors or misplays, and the back half of that game is like a game of itself, and we dodged a few bullets, and so did they, and felt like that game, I didn't want it to end, certainly the way that it did, but we wanted to just keep giving ourselves a puncher's chance, and they outlasted us.
Here in the middle.
Some young kids really came up huge, like a rookie pitcher, Cater, guy after guy.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about how the bullpen reacted?
Well, we grew up as a team. I do think, based on last season, being able to get some experience in the postseason, it's easy to forget how young we are and how much we're still learning. We have a lot to do to get better, but we are taking steps that way. Like even in the rough September, we took steps forward. It's not all about the record when you're learning. And unfortunately, we put ourselves in harm's way a little bit, but we battled back, to get the win in Cleveland, to get the win in Boston, to get a series win in the wild card, to take this to about as far as you can take a series. So we are growing up. We've got areas to get better, but I think these experiences are only going to help a Troy Melton or Cater or Parker, Zach, Ding, catching every inning of the playoffs. There's things to build off of this once the sting of the loss and the abrupt ending of a season, subsides a little bit.
Left side, Evan.
AJ, at what point in that game do you realize you have to get Jack up? And then what does it say about him to be able to do what he did and get out of some really big situations?
Yeah, we talked to Jack at home before we left with, sort of the way that it was going to map out over Game 5, and that he needed to tailor his work to be able to be ready, and he was all in. I told him to go down about halfway through. I'm not even sure when he went down to the pen, but it was going to be this extra inning type of game that was going to take him into the game. So, as guys are getting up, like there's no room for error at the end. Cater gets into trouble. I got Jack up, got Jack in the game. He got in trouble. I got Herder up. I got Tommy up. I mean, we were going to try to piece it together the best we could. But going into the game, in a perfect world, if it with Tarik, Will, Finnegan, Holton, like those guys were going to pitch if needed. On the back end of that, you're just piecing together the best you can to extend the game, because when we were pitching, we were one run from the season ending. So we were going, batter by batter.
Last question here in the front.
AJ, as a game like that goes on and on into extra innings, does the pressure switch all to the hitters? Because everybody looks like they're swinging to end the game, as you would think they would, and the pitchers were just mowing them down on both sides.
I don't think it was pressure. I think the intensity goes to the moment that you're playing. Like there's no looking ahead. You look at the moment that you're playing, and the intensity grows, and every situation's different. We have second and third. The attention's on the at-bat, or we had the bases loaded, the attention's on the at-bat. When they have first and second with nobody out, with the weird bunt play, it's just about the moment, So it wasn't pressure. It was intensity. Every pitch mattered. I think both sides were under a lot of duress during that time, and so, I think obviously hitters are seeing a different pitcher a lot. You got. Look at all the starters that pitched today. I don't know. I'd love for this series to go another 6th and 7th game, but I'm not sure any of us have pitching to get through 2 more games. Certainly not the way these 5 games were played. So you could feel the intensity because of how badly both teams wanted it. And, again, one team had to lose, unfortunately, and that was us.
All right, AJ, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.